Hey everyone, this is Jen and you're watching BPD Woman. On this channel, you will learn how to live more effectively with your borderline personality disorder. It's my goal to share my experiences to help you achieve the things that you want in life, whether they be relationships, love, career, money. My goal is to stress always the art of being effective. I am not a life coach or therapist or a psychologist, but I can answer one question that many of those folks cannot, which is, what is it like to have and live with borderline personality disorder? I produce about 3 to 5 videos a week. Most of my topics come from experiences that have happened in my day-to-day life, and they give me ideas for topics. I take topics from you. I also go over skills like DBT. So if that sounds good to you, please hit subscribe and the bell below so that you never miss a beat. As I said, I produce multiple videos each week and I would love you to check them out. So let's get going. Today I wanted to talk about a subject that maybe you are dealing with. And I want to start by saying that I'm 41 years old, and this will be my 41th year of holidays and birthdays, New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, anything that's a major event. And since I was diagnosed with borderline 20 years ago, I've had a little bit of a deeper understanding about why the holidays affect me a little bit more than perhaps other people. I know that, let's not forget that just because we have borderline personality disorder, we're still human beings, and all human beings experience generally, even if it's good stress, a type of stress or increased anxiety during the holidays. So ever since I was diagnosed 20 years ago, as you know, I've really committed myself to engaging in DBT classes, reading every major text, completing every workbook, and then doing them all over again. I stay up on current trends, current studies, and it's my goal to live more effectively with my borderline. Before I really got a grip on my borderline, however, I was sometimes in the midst of having panic attacks when the holidays came, and I wouldn't know what was happening to me. I remember one birthday where I was still in touch with my parents at that time, and that's another video that I'll be covering at some point, BPDs in the family, why I choose to be estranged. But I remember that my father was coming over for birthday, and I was living with my first serious boyfriend at the time, and I was shaking. I couldn't catch my breath. I was flailing. I wanted to cut myself. And I remember us, and this is like 22 years almost now, and I remember us standing in the hallway of our apartment and him being like, your father doesn't have to have this grip on you anymore. You're not there anymore. And it was one of those sound bites that kind of just stays with you, Maybe there are things, at least for me, I know there are things people have said in my life that just have always stuck with me. And that was one of them. And today's topic, I want to talk about, are you feeling more sad or dysregulated later? Excuse me. Let's try that again. Are you feeling more sad or dysregulated lately? It could be the holidays. It could be the holidays to blame. And so let's talk about 4 reasons why your stress may be peaking a bit more. You may be feeling more emotionally dysregulated more. You may feel like perhaps drinking more, smoking more, engaging in self-cutting. You may feel more of a rift between you and the accessibility of your skills. So 4 reasons and why you may be feeling more dysregulated. One, I think let's talk about the obvious, the change of seasons, right? There is a true disorder or a disorder out there. It's called S.A.D, seasonal affective disorder. And it generally happens at this time of year when we lose daylight savings, we fall an hour back, we gain more darkness, we we lose less light during the day. Where I live right now, I believe this sun is rising around 6:40 in the morning, and it sets about 5 p.m. each night. Well, my ass certainly doesn't get out of bed at 6:40 in the morning, so probably around 8 a.m. I get up. So, I'm lucky. My job takes me outside most of the day. I definitely notice an increased benefit of my job change, walking dogs, being outside over the last 2 years. But it can creep up on you. And I remember last year when I was in bed, I didn't know why, I hadn't stopped taking my medicines. I hadn't stopped being self-aware, but I felt like this real, like taking a heavy blanket and just kind of like putting it on my shoulders. That's how I felt. And I felt like anytime I moved my head, it would be like I'd move my head, but my head would still be over here. Kind of like this brain fog. And I don't mean like fog, like FOG, like you hear about people of emotional abuse. I just meant like cloudy, heavy, like slow moving, like I was stuck in molasses. So I had a conversation with a friend of mine at that point who texted me, and I hadn't heard from her from a couple days. And I said, "Oh, why haven't I heard from you?" And she said, "Oh, well, it's been really difficult with the season change, and I've been a bit more depressed." And I was like, of course, that's why I've been feeling the way I have the last few days. And then it made sense. And, if you read a little bit about seasonal affective disorder, ways to help you through it include, putting on more lights, like lights in your house, trying to get outside during the daylight as much as possible, having more greenery or plants inside your house, probably about 3-4 p.m. each day. I turn on most of the lights in my home. I don't want to feel sad, and I don't want to feel slowed down. And so I've noticed that now that I have less light, I have a job, a part-time job that takes place during the evening. And I've noticed that I make my own hours for this job, but I've noticed that I want to go out less and less now that it's getting darker and darker. So normally I would go out at 6 o'clock to start my job, and it would still be light, and I'd have light for another hour and a half. And now by the time I go out, it's dark. And it's like, for me, when it's dark, I'm like, well, it's time to get in bed and watch The Mandalorian with my dog. So being aware is the first step. So look online, look at some things that can help you deal with seasonal affective disorder. Like I said, more lights in the apartment or the house, bringing in like more, greenhouse plants. I'm big on aromatherapy. I love lighting candles. Like, they really help me. Making sure you're getting plenty of exercise, and especially during the daylight hours, and try to keep to your normal routine. Try not to let the things that you normally do go by the wayside. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is past negative experiences. So this is the second thing. We all have, I think, placed upon us collectively as a community or a society an ideal of what a holiday should look like, right? I mean, you'll, in November, sometimes October, you see wreaths and lights go up in parking lots and shopping centers. You'll see people decorating their houses already. For me, I'm like, oh my God, should I already been doing this? Even though I should have done myself, even though now that I have several animals in my house, probably putting up a tree and lights and things like that could be a more of a danger for them. But there's sort of like this pressure that comes upon you. And if you have had past negative holiday experiences, these things start to become triggers. All of the music in the grocery store, all of the holiday music on the car radio, all of the decorations, all of the signs, you just can't miss it unless you move to China or Russia where they don't celebrate Christmas. It's going to be in your face pretty much. I mean, I even remember a couple of years ago, I went to Mexico for Christmas thinking, oh, I'll be by the beach. And, in the hotel, there's like a huge Christmas tree, and Christmas Eve, there was like all of these kids like singing, Christmas songs, which was very nice. But, I was, I literally went upstairs to my hotel room and I was like, places to avoid Christmas next year. Past negative experiences. So, for me growing up, as I've mentioned in previous videos, they weren't always a good time, really only until like my 30s, really, and when I was really able to put a stamp on my holidays and make them my own, meaning maybe I invite one or two people over, if I'm not seeing somebody, there have been, a couple of years ago, I was dating a guy and I met his family and that was really nice. We even have it a white Christmas. But the year before that, I invited a friend over, we watched Bad Santa, we had cookies, and we dressed our dogs in cute outfits, and that was also just as great. If you have had past experience, though, where they've been negative, let's say, your parents got alternating holidays, and you left, one parent's house feeling bad about going to the others, you couldn't have really enjoyed your Christmas wholeheartedly. I mean, not in my situation. They made me feel a little bit bad, and they used gifts as sort of a competition for each other. Well, I bought her a Fisher-Price camera. Well, I bought her a Polaroid. Okay, well, I'm buying her, a bike. Okay, well, I'm buying her a scooter. The actual gift getting process made me feel terrible. Even now I feel a little bit of a sadness about it. And I grew up as an only child. So there is this trauma that has been tagged on to these experiences. So it's no wonder that they kind of come upon you like a traumatic event, I mean, oftentimes you'll read about soldiers celebrating the anniversary of losing a friend in battle, or a important, conflict that they fought in. Those anniversaries, they're traumatic for them, and you can think of holidays the same way. Now, my 2 cents on how to fix this is make your holidays your own. I am not in contact with my family, so maybe this is a bit easier for me, but I don't feel obligated to go to any family events, and they live out of state, and because I'm not in touch with them, they don't ask me. I'm kind of like the way, way, way black sheep of the family. But I have been able to make Christmases my own, and Thanksgivings, which is one of my favorite holidays, my own, without having to live up to some negative cookie cutter, forgive the pun, of holidays past. That means I choose people that I want to be around. I do things that I want to do that day. I don't feel the need to gussy myself up. I mean, as you can see, I come pretty casual in these videos. And I just have fun. The whole point of the day for me is to relax and have a good time. So you can change your experiences. Now, that leads into number 3, which is families. Families at this time of year can be making you feel more sad, more dysregulated. If you are at normal odds with your family, or even if you're on perfectly great terms with your family, the stress of holidays can kind of compact that. But I'll talk about that in the next point. In this point of families, you may be without one. You may be single. Hi, I am. You may not have your mother or father in your life for good reason. Right here, me. And even though I don't have them in my life because they've been abusive and they've caused so much harm to me, yes, of course, it still makes me sad. Of course I would like that dynamic, but I've tried engaging with them. Maybe this year will be different. Maybe this year will be different. It's never different, and I'm 41 years old now. The sadness will always remain there in some capacity, but I know very well that if I was to actually engage them and have Christmas or have a Thanksgiving with them, I would feel so miserable. So your families can absolutely be having a triggering effect on you, whether that's because you are feeling guilty, or they're making you feel guilty, or you're not on terms with them, so you feel alone. Perhaps you don't have a place to go at all. I'll put up a link to a video that I did here maybe about a couple of months ago about BPD and the holidays, how to cope. And I gave out some suggestions of things to do if you are without a family and how to enjoy it. Families, getting in touch with their families can, with the increased pressure of the holidays and the increased pressure of like all of your underlying issues, it could be making you feel more dysregulated than normal. Okay. You may feel just alone. That's the point here. You could just be feeling very alone. The fourth and final point, in nothing to shake a stick at, is you may be feeling increased anxiety for these following reasons. For instance, with the holidays, especially if you, maybe this year's a little bit different than years past, you will be around a lot more people during the holidays, right? Whether that's work parties, extra social engagements, your Christmas party, your mom's Christmas party, your boyfriend's Christmas party, your dad's Christmas party. You are going to be around a lot of people. And even on the most perfect terms and the most baseline regulated states that us with BPD can be in, that still can be very draining. Now, I'm an extrovert, so I can talk to anybody at a party. I can make conversation with anyone, and that invigorates me. But over a sustained pattern of days or weeks or 3-4 weekends in a row, when you may be rushing to 52 different holiday parties, that can really take a toll, and you start to not have enough time for yourself. Those of us with BPD, we have high emotional ability, which means our emotions and feelings and states of emotion can change rapidly. And we feel those feelings for longer than average people. And it takes us longer to come back to a regulated baseline. So it can be hard if you're going to all of these parties and getting more and more revved up with each interaction or social engagement. It could be all the more difficult to get down to that baseline. Furthermore, you may be around people that you really don't care for, who may have out and abused you. Perhaps you're attending an event with a parent who sexually abused you, or you're attending an event with an uncle who used to beat you, or you're just attending an event with a family who uses sarcasm or passive aggressive behavior. Those things bring up traumas, plus sign, now you've got the expectation of the holidays. Also, you're around more food, more alcohol, and more social engagements. So if you normally don't drink enough or a lot of alcohol, or maybe you don't drink alcohol at all, I don't. If you are eating a diet now suddenly that you're not used to eating, with more, higher fat, more sugar, as we do around this time of year, that can also start to mess with your anxiety, because now you're creating a physiological event. I actually have this thing that's called being food drunk. And if I ever eat a large meal that I normally wouldn't, that's like very sugary or high in calories. And I mean, listen, I can put away a burger. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a big, 10 Christmas cookies with tons of sugar and butter, or like a big Thanksgiving meal. I feel like this sense of intoxication, and that can also dysregulate you. My tip for dealing with this is to, one, try to maintain your regular diet, your regular exercise, and your regular patterns as much as you can to keep yourself grounded to something, especially grounded to something that helps you stay regulated. That means keep up with your exercise. It means if you know you're going to have a really rich meal at a party, plan ahead. Have something a little bit lighter in the afternoon time. Go on an extra walk that day to keep your serotonin up. If alcohol is a problem for you, plan ahead. Limit your intake, If you know that you are potentially going to be interacting with people that have been abusive to you or are abusive to you, or just people that you don't like being around, Try to see if you know that they're going to be at that party. And if it's too much for you, skip that party. Who cares? Who cares? You're allowed to say no, everybody, and you're allowed to say yes. And on top of that, you're allowed to say no without an explanation of why you're saying no. Hey, I'm really, thanks for the invite. Have a great time. I'm not going to be able to make it, but I'll be thinking about you guys. Merry Christmas. Done. That's it. The goal here in all of these things, whether you're feeling seasonal affective disorder, whether you've had past negative experiences, whether you're dealing with family pressure, or you're feeling an increased sense of anxiety due to all of the other introductions of more people, more food, more parties, you can take steps to keep yourself regulated. Rely heavily on your DBT skills. Rely on a schedule. Keep to a certain pattern. I mean, of course, you're going to have some changes to your schedule. You may travel. You may have someone come stay with you. You may have to do a Zoom call this holiday season instead of what you're used to. But whatever you're up against, you can plan for success. The key is to plan ahead and avoid avoiding. I hope this has been helpful to you. Please leave your comments in the section below. I would love to know in the comment section how you cope with the holidays and added stress. And until I talk to you next time, whatever you do, please be effective. Thanks for tuning in. This has been BPD Woman, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.